Here on the coast of Maine, our light levels are greatly reduced by early fall and remain so until spring. For this reason, finding ways to extend the growing season make for a much more enjoyable and prolonged gardening season. The video that follows will highlight how we built this small greenhouse ourselves, how we use it, and all the benefits we derive from it. Oh, look at this. The chives are having a fall flush of blooms.
The chives,
The chives were here. These chives have probably been here. This is a ledge here. So somebody knew they couldn't actually garden here, so they planted some chives up here probably back in the 1800s. People used to also throw their like household refuse, bones, broken china. When I dig around out here, find all kinds of interesting stuff. A lot of oyster shells. But yeah, these chives are phenomenal, and we can tap into these year round because I've had some friends dig some clumps out and good stuff. So anyhow, this greenhouse I put up, it'll be 2 years ago this fall. What you see here with the black door, what's left of the kit that I ordered, and it arrived and was not cheap. And I started to assemble it, and there was like 130 pieces so that they could ship it as a mail order product. And I was starting to get really disappointed, not only with trying to assemble it, but for the reason that I started to feel like this aluminum was going to be awfully flimsy here with the strong winds we can get, particularly in the wintertime. We have some really strong gale force. We can get some very strong gale force winds off the ocean here. A lot of times it seems to happen in December, January, and I was worried about the whole thing blowing over. So partway into the assembly, I decided to strap it and just use the door and a few other pieces here and there. And I used all the polycarbonate, of course. And I went out and bought myself some pressure treated 4x4s and 2x4s and actually built this myself. And I don't even really know, maybe my son Owen and I had a quick sketch, but really just started putting it together. I did most of the work, had a little help from my brother and from Mara and Owen in the beginning, but I was out here for quite a while going on this thing. It had a couple minor flaws that my brother and I straightened out, and now it's been up for 2 years and it's been outstanding. I built the foundation from stone I gathered on the property, put some mortar in that, and then built the foundation to set it on with pressure treated 4x4s and rebarred that down into the ground the best I could. There's a lot of ledge around here, so that was a bit of a challenge. And then I put a thick weed barrier on. It's actually more of a mat, polyester mat that I've used for other things. So that's underneath. But now we can go in and take a look and get a close up of the greenhouse. I'm going to be hit by a wall of, it's probably about 70 outside today, and it's probably about 90 in here right now. Here you see a view inside the greenhouse prior to setting up the raised bed frames. The weed barrier matting is in place beneath the pea gravel. You will notice the memory foam baffles along each eave. These are pulled out for summer and put in place for early spring and late fall to keep cold-sensitive plants happy. It is quite easy to regulate the temperature and humidity depending upon how many of these you leave in or take out. Next, I'd like to talk about starting seedlings. It is important to have plenty of light from above with a grow light and warmth from below with a heat mat, particularly for tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants. We use a large LED grow light panel in lieu of high-pressure sodium lights due to the high electrical consumption of the latter. A good seed starter potting mix is key. We've been using the Happy Frog brand and have been very pleased with it. For the raised beds, we had the luxury of using Everedge brand powder-coated interlocking steel bed frames made in the UK. These were left over from a previous business I had attempted to get going in the Philadelphia area, Backyard Farmers, but that's another story. I also had the experience using these frames along with an automated drip system for a rooftop vegetable and moss garden that I had created several years ago. This was back at the farm I previously owned in Pennsylvania. The amount of carrots we pulled from one of those beds was insane. These frames are 6 inches tall and come in 4-foot sections. They hinge together with steel rods. The beauty of these is that unlike wood, they will not rot. And believe me, even cedar bed frames can rot. Also, do not use pressure-treated lumber for your bed frames, as the chemical treatments can leach into your soil and be absorbed into your plants. We filled this first bed with a mixture of existing soil from our garden, compost from our own piles, and horse manure. I also pulled a bit of soil from out of the woods, but that was hard digging. To keep the plants moist, a soaker hose was installed by snaking it through the bed. This worked very well, and the frequency of watering was controlled by an Orbit brand battery-powered timer that was adjusted for frequency and duration during the course of the summer, the longest watering cycles occurring during July and August. I seem to remember having the water come on for 20 minutes every day at that point in time, and every other day when it was cooler. I would leave one or both doors to the greenhouse open during the summer months to avoid overheating the plants. I also had the baffles along the eaves removed during this time. The beauty of the automated watering system is that you just set it and forget it, and only really worry about trellising, a bit of weeding, and then harvesting. As summer progressed into early fall, the tomato vines consumed the interior space. To keep them erect, we used heavy-duty nylon fishing line from ground to ceiling as a vertical trellis, and twisty ties for attaching the vines to the line. By far, our best heirloom tomatoes came from inside the greenhouse. The ones we grew outside were plagued with more pests, blight, and by visiting chipmunks. Came out here 5 minutes ago. I didn't have a bag with me, but here's what I just picked. Got some really beautiful shiitakes and a tomato out of the greenhouse. But here's the shiitake situation updated. These were put in here about 10 days ago after they had been submerged in water, these oak logs, for about 24 hours. And it's been pretty warm in here. And I've been kind of controlling the environment with the doors open in the really hot days and then all closed last night. These baffles were shut all the way up here. And really excited because my son Coleman's coming up this weekend. He's going to have a bunch of shiitakes. They're already coming in. I picked some tonight to go with our burgers. And tomatoes are still putting out a few cherries in there. And I think there's a few golf ball sized cherries down in that area, hopefully. But we're getting to the end of the tomatoes. It's just getting to be a little chilly and not a lot of light levels for them. But anyhow, I think I could do shiitakes between the greenhouse in the spring and fall and the basement, where I just put a bunch more logs that have been dunked, some bigger oak logs. They don't need light, they're just fungus. And it'd be really cool to be able to just put them down in your basement and have mushrooms all year long whenever you want them by dunking the inoculated logs into water for 24 hours. Very exciting. You want them just slightly curled under like that. This was a big one. It's got a lot of weight to it. And then the stems are woody, so you just rip them off and you don't use them. But in conclusion, this greenhouse was built to last. Unfortunately, we don't have plans or drawings, as we more or less engineered it on the fly. If you are looking to build your own and like what we have here, I might suggest freezing this video on images showing the construction phases, as I think that would be most helpful with your own layout. As for the polycarbonate panels, you should be able to source them online or through a local agricultural supply outfit. You definitely want to use screws with rubber grommets for attaching the panels to the frame to avoid water entry. Future plans for the structure include adding a second bed on the opposite side and possibly a small two-person hot tub in the back. The thinking is the residual heat from the hot tub can be used to keep plants growing year-round. We shall see. If we get our solar panels for the barn soon, with local and federal rebates, we may decide to take this on.